Continuamos con la segunda parte del tema de depresión.
Do you have any other questions for me?
Sí, yo te preguntaba, ¿por qué? Pero es casi como que ya me la dijiste, ¿verdad? ¿Por qué me siento tan confundida? Es como, yo sentía que no podía enfocarme en nada, yo quería hacer una cosa y sentía como que, yo sentía mi cabeza muy inflamada, yo sentía como una inflamación aquí y muchas veces me pregunté, ¿será que voy a tener que ir al hospital? Porque sí sentía aquí como hasta un peso aquí en mi cabeza. Es raro, yo siento que lo que dice Megan, ¿verdad? Si tú te identificas con algo de todo esto, por favor busca ayuda, porque es importante empezar a ver qué está pasando en mi interior. Entonces yo sentía todo eso, sentía que no me podía enfocar en nada y sentía mucha confusión, ¿verdad? Malos pensamientos, ansiedad, deseos de ya no estar a veces, porque yo decía, no me puedo mejorar. Entonces, esa confusión, yo sentía que me hacía mucho daño y siento que la confusión que uno siente que es pensar y pensar y pensar en lo mismo. Entonces, ¿cómo podemos volver a enfocarnos para poder seguir adelante?
That's a great question. That really is a great question. Because I think that's a step that's overlooked, because a lot of people come to the fact that I have depression, or not me, but they have depression, and they learn how to walk through it. But once it's done, now what? How do I keep it from coming back? How do I reset my life after feeling like it was over for so long, or feeling sad, or how do I still miss my loved one that passed away, even though I don't want to feel depressed, but how do I still miss them? That was a question I had too. Was when my grandfather passed away, I was severely depressed for quite a while. And my question was, how do I miss him but not get sad again and not re-trigger everything that I just went through, right? And that's a wonderful question. That's a great question. I actually have a great answer for that, and that is found in a psychologist that I really look up to. And I hope that his story helps you. His story has totally helped me. There's a biography out on his life, and I recommend reading it. It's about Viktor Frankl. He was a psychologist from the 1940s, 1950s, and what in the world was happening at that time? World War II, right? And he was in Austria, so he was around it, really close. And he had gotten married. He had a life. He had a daughter. His wife was Jewish. And so when the Germans came and invaded Austria, they threw him, his wife, and his daughter in concentration camps. Unfortunately, his wife and daughter did not survive. And he was a doctor before this. He was well accomplished. He had a theory on psychology. And then throughout the Holocaust, his theory was just solidified. And it's called, his theory of his practice of psychology is called logotherapy, okay? And essentially, the meaning of logotherapy is if a man has any why, he can get through any how. If a man has a reason to live, he can get through anything. If there is purpose and there is meaning to the pain, to the suffering, then I can get through it if I have a goal at the end, right? So he's the author of the book Man's Search for Meaning. And if you are struggling finding a goal or meaning in life, I recommend reading it for sure. But his ideas were shaped by suffering and actually living through it, right? Because at the end of the war, he survived. Miraculously, he survived through the war, and he continued in his practice. He continued doing psychology. He continued doing therapy with the same theory, because the suffering proved to him, if I can get if I have a reason why, I can get through it. I can get through anyhow. And my wife's life will not be in vain. My daughter's life will not be in vain. And I think that's an attitude that is so hard to have. But if he can do it, so can you, right? And it's not easy. I'm sure he went through many hardships, many. And, I feel like dealing with depression is sometimes like that. It's thing after thing after thing. And I just don't know how to get through it because I don't have a reason anymore. Well, you have to reshape your suffering and redefine it for it to have a meaning, right? So Viktor Frankl argued that even when we can't change our circumstances, we can still find, even when you can't change how depressed you are, even when you can't change that your loved one has died, even when you can't change that you have several kids and you don't know how to live through every day, you can still find meaning in what you offer to the world. So as a mother, what do you offer to your children? What do you offer to your job, to your family, to yourself, right? In work, in your workplace, and in school, and in anything that you do, what do you have to give? We can find meaning in what we receive from the world: love, intimacy, friendship, beauty, relationships. The world gives us all of those things, right? And 3, the attitude we choose toward unavoidable suffering. So the way you choose to walk through it will change the outcome. So some days it's really hard to be like, I just can't get out of bed. I just can't. I don't know why. But try changing your mindset to, I can't right now, but how can I change this? What can I do different today? Instead of laying in bed all day and scrolling on my phone. What can I do different today? Maybe today I'll try to do something. Maybe today I'll just do one thing that I can do. And tomorrow I'll do 2 things. And the next day I'll do 3 things. And then keep going, right? You are establishing a healthy pattern compared to the destructive pattern that is destroying your mental health, right? So Viktor Frankl didn't say that suffering, in this case we're talking about depression, so he didn't say that depression or suffering is good, but he said that it becomes unbearable when it feels meaningless. And I think that's the point that a lot of people come to, especially when it comes to talking about suicide or self-harm or any of those very severe things. Their struggle has become meaningless in their mind. In their mind, there really is no purpose. In their mind, they have nothing left to give. In their mind, no relationship feels stable. In their mind, it's not worth living for. Because they've forgotten the meaning of what it is to live and why. They feel like they don't have a purpose anymore. So that's a psychologist that I love, looking at his theories and his thoughts. And like I said, I recommend reading his book if you can, because it'll change the way you look at life, especially depression. In this context, it will change the way you feel about depression if you reset your mind to have a goal, to have a purpose. You may not feel like doing anything today. You may feel depressed and sad and anxious today, but maybe try something different. Maybe go outside 5 minutes. 5 minutes outside. And tomorrow you'll do 10. And the next day maybe you won't feel like it at all. But the next day you'll do 15. Okay? Try establishing a healthy pattern. I think that's an important thing to talk about too with depression, is healthy coping strategies. Because you can so easily find unhealthy coping strategies, right? Like binge eating all the chocolate in your pantry. Eating all the ice cream you have found at the store. I have done that some days, okay? Don't do it. Or turning to alcohol, turning to drugs because it's accessible. It really is. Turning to watching things you shouldn't be watching. Turning to music that just agrees with how you feel about the world or agrees with how you feel about yourself. All those things are unhealthy coping strategies. And so finding healthy ones, I think, is one of the most important ways you can help get yourself through depression.
Okay. Y hablando de todo lo que es saludable, lo que tú dices, ¿qué crees tú que serían alimentos buenos, saludables? Porque hay muchas cosas que he oído de alimentos que son directamente para el cerebro, ¿verdad? Como los arándanos, creo que son muy buenos para el cerebro. ¿Qué nos dirías tú que es bueno comer para estar saludable?
Well, I'll be honest, I'm not a nutritionist, but I know what my doctor has told me. Eating any foods that are high in healthy omega fats, anything that's good for your brain, so like nuts are a big one, avocados, salmon promotes healthy thinking, just eating protein, getting your protein intake every day, making sure there's always a protein in your meal. Like I said, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. If you can't stand vegetables, put some salt on them and they're a lot better, I promise. Like I said, I'm not a nutritionist, so I don't exactly know all of the things, but I know a few. Chia seeds are a big one that I like eating a lot because they're not only high in fiber, they're high in fiber. They're great for you. There's lots of foods out there. And if you have a primary physician or a doctor, ask them. They would be glad to tell you. Making sure you're getting enough calcium too is one of them. Those are a few of the foods that I know. So.
Okay. Yo tengo una última pregunta y es como, tú decías, no todas las depresiones se ven igual, pero hay gente que se ríe y tú les ves bien y tú decís, no está deprimido, ¿verdad? No tiene depresión, pero en mi caso, yo quería llorar todo el tiempo. Yo me levantaba y yo estaba llorando porque no dormí bien, porque los nenes, porque me tengo que levantar y no tengo fuerzas. Yo lloraba todo el tiempo. Y muchas veces me iba a bañar tratando de que se me quitara eso, ¿verdad? Y yo decía, algo que a mí me ayudaba era pensar, mis hijos ya van a venir del colegio o de la universidad y yo tengo que estar bien. Y eso me ayudaba. Pero entonces esa es mi pregunta, ¿por qué? En el caso mío, ¿por qué quería llorar todo el tiempo? Todo el tiempo yo quería llorar y llorar y llorar. Y un día fui al doctor y le dije si era malo para mis ojos porque yo lloraba y lloraba. Y el doctor me dijo, y fui con la persona, el oftalmólogo, y me dijo, no, eso no le hace mal, me dijo. Porque yo dije, me voy a quedar sin lágrimas, ya no tengo lágrimas. Y no se me acabaron, nunca. Entonces es como mi última pregunta, ¿por qué? En el caso de las personas que lloran mucho, ¿por qué se llora tanto? Porque no se siente consuelo ni paz, es una cosa de que uno quiere llorar y llorar y llorar. Al contrario, pues me imagino las personas que se ríen y se ríen y se ríen, pero para mí era diferente, ¿va? Yo quería llorar todo el tiempo y no podía parar. Y yo trataba de controlarme y entonces eso sería como mi última pregunta, ¿por qué queremos llorar todo el tiempo o estar tan tristes?
It's a good question. I think it's like, as I said earlier, everyone reacts differently. So for you, it was crying, right? Because for you, that's the only way your body knew how to release everything that it felt. So I don't think it was a bad thing. Maybe that what happened with your eyes, that's not so great. But maybe it's the only way that your body knows how to cope and knows how to deal with it because you didn't have any strategies to walk through, right? So if you have a strategy or a way to help cope with the emotion, then you won't want to cry so much. I'm not saying you won't, but crying is just an expression of how we feel, right? It's not a bad thing. It's a normal thing. God created it for a reason. It has a time and a place. But if it's to the point of all the time to where you have to see a doctor, maybe try some other techniques, some other coping healthy strategies, some other healthy coping strategies, right? To help you regulate your emotions, because I have a feeling that it was probably because your emotions were not regulated very well, to the point where it's mainly sadness you were feeling. So if you had a technique or a strategy to help regulate that, to where sadness isn't the only thing you're feeling, I feel like that could have helped. Now, like I said, I'm not a doctor, and all of these answers are to the best of my knowledge. I don't know all the things. I don't have all the answers. I don't see clients, so this is just what I have learned in my degree in school and what I have seen in my own life and people around me. But to the best of my knowledge, I think just having some healthy strategies, some good coping, some good ways to learn to cope. And I think it's important that we talk about some of those. I have a few here. So one that I've kind of been talking about, but I want to give a name to it, is called behavioral activation. So like the way it sounds, behavior activating. Behavioral activation is when you feel like you can't do anything, just do something that you can do. So like I said, doing one thing at a time. Today, for example, say I don't feel like getting out of bed, say I just want to scroll my phone, say I just want to cry a lot and I just want to eat ice cream, right? Well, let's think about something I can do. I can open my window and let some light in. I can do that. I may not feel like doing it, but if it's something I can do, let's try it. And then after I get some sunlight, I can get out of bed and move to the couch. I can do that. I can get up and brush my hair. I don't want to brush my teeth. I don't want to do any of that. I don't want to wash my face, but I can brush my hair. That's easy, right? After that, what can you do? It's this mindset of, instead of thinking about what you can't do, flip it around. What can you do today? I can also go eat some yogurt. Because I haven't eaten anything and I'm probably kind of hungry. So I can go eat some yogurt and berries. I can do that. I can call a friend and ask them to come over and sit with me. I can cry and let my emotions out and feel those emotions. I can watch a sad movie and allow myself to regulate in my sadness. Or I can watch a happy movie and laugh a little. I can do that. Finding things that feel possible for you in that moment. Because I understand depression makes almost everything feel impossible. So prove it wrong. Prove depression wrong. What is possible for you right now? What can you do? Another thing is mood tracking or journaling. Write down just 2 to 3 sentences in a journal. Just a couple sentences a day. Today, I feel like everything sucks and I can't do anything. Okay? Tomorrow, I called my friend. I feel better. The next day, I'm sad again. The next day, I actually went outside of my house today. Today, I went to work and it was all right. Today, this happened. And so you can not only see how things get better, but you can see the patterns of what is hurting you. Today, I listened to this song and it made me feel worse. Okay, maybe don't listen to that song anymore. Today, I looked at all the photos from my past relationship. Stop doing that. Okay, if it makes you feel worse, don't do that. Today, I ate 3 pounds of ice cream and now I feel sick. maybe don't do that. Notice the patterns that are hurting you. Now, all of my examples are silly, but it can be serious too. Like today, I cut myself with a knife because I was thinking this. Today, I drink alcohol because I just am so tired of feeling nothing. Or I feel so much sadness, I want to feel nothing. Or I cut myself or burned myself because I want to feel something. I feel numb and I don't feel anything, so at least I want to feel physical pain. I've seen that a lot too. Because like I said, sometimes depression numbs our feelings, and so people go looking for a feeling, whether that's physical, emotional. They push people away so they know what rejection feels like. So finding a way to track the patterns by journaling, that's important. And sometimes just writing things down helps you feel better. Going to therapies, talking to someone. We've talked about that. In our anxiety podcast, I talked about self-compassion, right? How sometimes we're too hard on ourselves. So just being positive towards yourself, unconditional positive regard, like I mentioned. Telling yourself, it's okay to rest today. It's okay, but tomorrow we're going to go do something. It's okay that I'm crying and struggling today, so maybe tomorrow I'll try to do something to make myself feel better, right? One thing that I think is kind of a funny name, prescribed gratitude. So the way the doctor prescribes you medicine, if I were your doctor, I would tell you, you need some gratitude. Right? You need to be thankful for some things. I've heard a lot of times it's hard to be sad when you're being thankful. It's hard to not feel anything when you're thinking about all the good things that have happened, right? All the people you're thankful for. It's hard to feel like life is not worth anything when you're thinking about all the things that make it worth it, right? Another main thing I wanted to mention, in our last podcast, I mentioned an analogy of the dog barking in the tree. And if you haven't listened to our last podcast, you should go do it because it was awesome. And it was great, and we talked about a lot of things. But this time, I have an example of what depression is like. Think about a volcano, right? So underneath, you've got all this, whatever happened to trigger the outburst of anger, maybe sadness, maybe crying. You had something that happens that, like the way that lava explodes, you had something that triggered that explosion, if you will. So you covered up with something. Oh, I tell a lot of jokes and use comedy as a cover, so I don't actually have to feel and tell anyone my feelings. I just joke about things. That's my cover. Here's the volcano, right? I can't. Here's my cover, right? Well, where else is that going to go? Somewhere else. You're going to see an outburst somewhere else in your life. Maybe you're not crying anymore, but now you're just irritated, and now you're just mad. And things make you mad very easily. Or, I can't focus. I am at work, and I cannot focus on my work. But I'm distracting myself from being sad, so I'm doing something else. So now I can't focus, so I'm going to start drinking energy drinks so I can focus. Or drinking too much coffee. There's a such thing. I love coffee, but there's too much, okay? So now I'm telling jokes that aren't actually funny, but are helping me feel better, and then drinking too much energy drinks, and oh, over here, something else is happening. And I'm going to cover that up. And then what? Right? So what we call that is symptom relief. Instead of looking at what's causing the problems on the outside, you're just covering up the problems. You're trying to fix the symptoms. So the same way someone comes into the hospital, and a doctor looks at a patient and they're like, I'm coughing, I'm sneezing, I feel like I'm going to throw up, I have a fever. All of these things are wrong. They have a couple options. They can say, this may be the major problem that's causing all of those things. Let's fix that. Or they could say, well, you could do this for your headaches. You could do this for your fever. You can take this for this. And they just are trying to fix the symptoms rather than fix the problem. Right? So sometimes that's what we do. We are just trying to fix everything else. I'm crying too much. How do I stop all my crying? What's causing the crying, right? What is actually making your body react that way? I stopped crying, but now I'm doing this, and how do I fix that? What is causing that, right? And so, like I said in our last episode, sometimes you have to sit and think about it for a while. Sometimes you have to sit and, why am I so sad? What happened? If you don't know what happened, if you know what happened, what can I do? What can I do to make it better? What strategies and coping techniques help me feel better? Because the same won't work for everyone, right? So I think the last final thing I want to talk about is something we've brought up a few times in the podcast, but suicide. I don't want to end on a really sad note, but I do want to end on an important note, right?
Sí.
I think most people in this day and age at least know someone who has died of suicide or has heard of someone who has died of suicide if you don't know someone closely, personally. And the sad fact is that it goes unnoticed a lot of times, and a lot of times, most of the time when it happens, no one's expecting it. Because that person probably turned to symptom relief. Oh, well, they were dealing with this, but now they're better, so I'm not concerned. Oh, well, they were doing drugs and alcohol, but now they're not, so they're fine. They're better. Well, why were they doing drugs and alcohol? Did you ask them why? Did you, have they seen a doctor lately? The sad fact is that suicide is more attempted by women. However, men are more successful because they use more fatal methods, like a gun or something like that. And that's a very sad fact. It's a very sad truth. But it is true. So we can't change that. We can try to help it. If you... the thing is that suicide has become this word that people kind of tiptoe around. When you hear about suicide, you're like, oh, I better not say the wrong thing. I feel like they're maybe struggling, but I don't want to say anything because I don't want to make it worse. Or I don't want to say the wrong thing and make them get worse or make them think about it. Those are all myths. And I want to prove that wrong right now. If someone is depressed, severely depressed, and you have seen it, and they just out of nowhere start getting better, it could be because they have accepted their life is ending in their mind. Or they could be getting better, seriously, and that's great. Or if someone is seriously depressed and says something that you're like, oh, that's kind of shocking. Your spidey senses are tingling, and the alarm is going off in your mind. They're not okay. Ask them. And that is the scariest thing to do, truly, it is. But ask them straight up, are you thinking about committing suicide? Because that will stop them in their tracks. It may not stop them from attempting to do that, but it lets them know someone sees me.
Exacto.
It lets them know someone noticed that something is wrong. There is someone who is watching me that cares enough to ask me. There's someone who wants to know how I'm doing. And I challenge you today, if there's someone in your life, maybe they're not thinking about suicide, the worst thing they can say, yeah, I am.
Sí.
And then you know, I need to help you. I need to be there for you. Because I need you to know how much I care about you, how much you are important in this world. What can I do to help you? And if they say no, they could be lying to you. But they could also be telling the truth, and at least you know they're okay.
Sí.
And if they are lying to you, hey, okay, you said no, but you are concerning me and I care for you. What can I do to help? Right? Being there for someone. It's so much better to be straightforward with someone than to regret not having asked them later.
Sí.
Right?
Definitivamente.
Yeah. So I think just be direct, be open, be honest, whether it's suicide, harmful thoughts to yourself, to others, or you have been feeling depressed. Anything we've talked about in this episode, I encourage you, be honest, be open, because your life is so valuable here on earth, and depression can be a serious thing, but it can also be manageable. It can be manageable. So, yeah, that's what I got to say on the topic. And do you have any more questions for me?
No, creo que con esto tenemos tanto que agradecerte has aportado mucho, y de verdad que Dios te bendiga, porque realmente es bonito cuando uno aprende acerca de algo. Es como, ya no estoy ignorando lo que está pasando en mi vida, ya no estoy ignorando por qué estoy pasando esto. Entonces, de verdad, es como abrir nuestros ojos para saber qué es lo que estamos viviendo. Así que muchísimas gracias, Megan.
Of course.
Y pues de verdad, gracias, te doy las gracias por acompañarnos en estos episodios. Realmente hablar de depresión es como, en este tiempo ya no se vale decir me da vergüenza, qué van a pensar de mí, porque ya es algo que ya se ha abierto mucho. Y yo sí quiero decirte, si tú estás en esta situación, por favor, busca ayuda. Como dijo Megan, eres importante, eres valioso, valiosa, eres alguien que no hay nadie como tú. Lo dije la vez pasada en otro episodio. Si no hay dos cebras iguales, no hay tampoco dos seres iguales, porque Dios no hace robots. Así que por favor, te pido que si estás lidiando con algo de todo lo que hoy hablamos, puedas buscar ayuda. Si nosotros podemos orar por ti, escríbenos, porque vamos a estar muy felices de orar por ti. Y realmente hemos pedido mucho a Dios su guianza para poder hacer estos videos y poder hablar de todo esto, porque sabemos que es un tema delicado, que es un tema importante, pero no es algo que sea imposible. Al contrario, cada día es una nueva oportunidad para seguir adelante. Te lo dice alguien que sintió por 3 veces que ya no había un mañana, y por la gracia de Dios todavía estoy aquí. Y como decía Megan, ella también ha pasado por esto. Entonces, qué bonito es que poder decirte, sí se puede seguir adelante. Así que sigamos adelante, Dios está con nosotros, y pues de verdad espero que podamos seguir hablando de todo esto, porque en serio es un tema muy amplio, muy largo, ¿verdad, Megan? Todavía tenemos mucho que hablar, hay muchas cosas que decir, y esperamos que puedas volver a estar con nosotros en un nuevo episodio. Seguimos navegando en este mar de emociones, y recuerda que mientras más te conoces y más aprendes de lo que estás viviendo, más fácil va a ser. Y entonces de verdad seguiremos adelante y vamos a llegar a la meta todos. Así que nuevamente gracias. No sé si quieres despedirte.
No. Thank you so much for watching. I love sharing, and yeah, I hope that you got something from this podcast. I hope you have learned something, and like Anais said, let us know what you have found interesting, maybe you connect to something or maybe you've learned something, let us know. We would love to hear about it. But yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Gracias. Así que seguimos adelante y gracias por conectarte una vez más. Hasta la próxima.